There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Love, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello, welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy and joined, as always, by my good friend Joe Stanley. Hello, Joe.
Darcy, it's always a joy to be here with you, and we've gone pumpkin mad at my place, not to eat necessarily, but as decorations for Halloween. I don't know, your kids into it at all?
Not as much as you, I suspect, Joe, but in recent times it's become a big thing in the neighbourhood. Every second house has got the Halloween decorations out. But just having a look at some of your dress-ups, it's a big thing in your house, isn't it?
Yeah. Would it surprise you that we love dress-ups and being a bit dramatic? Is that a surprise to you?
I think it's right on point for you and Daz and Willow. What's planned this year?
Yeah, she wants to do a headless horseman.
Good luck with
this
that.
year. I think I'll have to be the horse, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the kids love it, don't they? And you can see the suburbs every year with more and more decorations. So it has really taken hold, Halloween, here in Australia. But on a more serious note, Joe, October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and its aim is to bring down the number of deaths caused by breast cancer to zero by 2030.
It's a time when people also show their support by wearing pink, along with all the events and activities that go with it all around the country. And as you say, Dars, zero deaths is the aim. But until then, our best hope is to keep developing new and more effective treatment options. And that's exactly what Melbourne's Epworth Hospital has done.
Yes, Joe, and an Aussie first, a revolutionary radar technology is letting surgeons find and remove tiny tumours with pinpoint accuracy, and we caught up with the Melbourne surgeon behind this history-making breakthrough.
Chantal, tell us about this exciting new technology, the Scout Radar.
Yeah, so the Scout Radar, Joe, uses an electromagnetic reflector, which is a small reflector that's placed into the tumour in the breast or the cancer in the breast. And then we use a laser probe, a laser light probe in the operating theatre to help us localise accurately that tumour. We can localise the tumour within a millimetre of its exact position.
And how important is it that you can pinpoint that tumour?
It is very important for two reasons, because we want to find the cancer, and particularly when they're very small, it can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But secondly, we want to be able to reduce the amount of healthy breast tissue that we take for the cosmetic outcome to improve cosmesis. So if we know exactly where it is, we can reduce the amount of tissue that we need to take.
What has been the procedure up until now?
Well, the mainstay procedure is a thing called hook-wire guided localisation, which, sounds slightly barbaric. The patient actually gets a little tiny wire, almost like a fishing wire, that gets placed into the breast. They need to go on the day of the procedure to have the wire put into the radiology department, and then they need to have a mammogram afterwards with the wire in, and then come back up to the operating theatre with the wire sitting in their breast, go to the theatre, then we need to take the wire out. We use the wire almost like a road map to dissect down to find the problem. Take the specimen out with the wire, then that whole specimen needs to be sent off to the radiology department for an X-ray. And then you've got to wait for that to come back to know that you've got what you came for, and then it increases the operating duration for the patient and sometimes the amount of tissue taken as well. And patients find that procedure very stressful because, it's a difficult day for them. Sometimes it's like the worst day of their life, the day they have to have a breast cancer removed. And so to rush them down to the radiology suite, rush them back up, it adds a lot of stress for the patient, anxiety, and can be painful for them as well.
How will this new technology improve on the wire technology?
Firstly, productivity for the patient and for the theatre staff, because we're reducing the amount of time that the patient needs to be in the hospital, which means we can do more cases. It will reduce the amount of tissue that is required to be taken, and therefore will improve cosmesis, and it will improve accuracy in terms of us detecting the tumour within a millimetre of its position.
How many women have received this new technology in Australia?
In Victoria, 4 cases thus far. I did the first case in February this year on a lady that had a recurrent tumour sitting just underneath her collarbone between the pec muscles, the pectoralis major and minor muscle. And if I had to use the hook wire technology, I wouldn't have been able to remove the tumour, because as soon as I dissected down, the muscle would have contracted and I wouldn't have been able to find. It was a 4mm cancer. So it was fortuitous that we had that technology for this patient. Since then, in Sydney, they have done more than, I think, 20 cases, but we were the first in Australia to do that.
And how long before this becomes readily available for all women with breast cancer?
Well, we're hoping that now that we have the machine, that we'll be able to use it more frequently. About 70% of breast cancers are impalpable and will require something like the scout or a hook wire to be used. And so we're hoping that about 70% of ladies will be able to utilise this technology.
And for someone such as yourself who's worked with breast cancer and women with breast cancer for some time, how exciting is it to see this kind of technology?
It's wonderful, you know, because the most important day of the patient's cancer journey usually is their operating day, and that is a day that's very stressful. And so if we can do anything that is possible to reduce their time in the hospital and make that process easier for them, it will impact on their survival. I truly believe that.
I don't think there's one person who hasn't had a connection of some kind with breast cancer, Darcy, either through personal experience or someone we know. Yeah,
absolutely. And the work that's gone into research and treatment, as seen in the 5-year survival rate, increased from 76% to 91% since 1994, and it's still going up, which is great news. So 0 deaths by 2030. Really, you think that may well be achievable, Joe?
The other big message is not to put off getting regular screenings. Last year, breast screenings dropped by 98% across the country because of the pandemic. The Breast Cancer Foundation says that could mean thousands of missed or undiagnosed breast cancer cases. So if you're due for a mammogram, especially if you're over 40, then don't wait, book yourself in.
Now, Joe, anyone with a social media account would have come across the online personality test, I'm assuming. There are some that carry some weight, like the Myers-Briggs and the Big 5 personality test, but most of them maybe are a little bit flimsy potentially, and it's easy to get sucked into them around, this is my personality type, I can't change because that's genetically who I am. Have you ever done one of them?
I've done lots of them, sometimes myself online, sometimes as a part of teamwork.
Yeah.
You know, in a work environment, there's the disc as well, where you get told this is what you are. And I've not always liked it because I've kind of gone, I think that I disagree with that.
Yeah.
We're kind of complex people, aren't we? And I don't always agree with what I'm told about myself.
Well, things like the Enneagram, and I'm passionate about the leadership space. I've been doing some work and spoken a bit about the podcast. And I think there's a bit of a shift around people now, not so much around what their personality type is, which is important, but how you can impact others in your environment, and maybe taking some assessment on that seems like a positive step forward.
I do think it's helpful, though, whatever the tool is, if it's going to lead you to a bit more self-awareness about not just your personality, but how you impact on other people. I think that can be a really positive thing. But when it comes to our health and well-being, knowing your own personal quirks can help you navigate social situations, discover the right profession, and maybe better manage stress or anxiety triggers.
Yeah, fair point. Now, would you believe that Aussie scientists have now discovered that people's personality type can also determine what diet will be most effective?
The CSIRO has just conducted the nation's biggest study of 250,000 people to look at the link between personality and weight loss. The results are truly fascinating.
For many years, Victoria's Kerry Rolfe had trouble maintaining a balanced diet.
Whilst I didn't eat particularly what you would describe as junk food or unhealthy, I ate too much. My portion sizes were too big, and I certainly enjoyed carbohydrates. My blood sugars were starting to go up. My joints, I was in chronic pain, and I just knew I had to do something for my health and my well-being. 2016, I decided to do it myself, and I did. I lost 18 kilos, which I was really proud of, but over the next 5 years or so, 10 of them went back on.
Kerry's experience of falling back on old eating habits is one that just about all of us can relate to. But according to new research from the CSIRO, the secret to sticking with a healthy diet could be understanding your own personality.
We've got our underlying sort of personality traits, and they can influence our behaviours, our emotional characteristics, and all of those can influence what we eat, how we eat, why we eat. So it's important that people understand their personality types and sort of accept it, lean into it, and that can help them manage sort of their eating behaviours and also their weight loss journey.
Using survey data collected from over 245,000 Australians, Dr. Jilly Hendry and her colleagues have identified the 6 most common diet personality types.
The thinker is a goal-orientated, motivated kind of person, but they're also sensitive to negative feedback, and so this can actually derail their diet in some situations. The battler is also prone to stress or worry, but they actually need to manage their food temptations as well. So they need a unique combination of strategies to really manage their eating behaviours in certain situations. The craver suffers from really strong sort of food cravings, as the name suggests. So in certain situations, that can really lead to overeating. The pleaser is a likeable person, and they are prone to sort of social comparisons or looking sideways. So they really need to focus on their own journey and have the right people around them to support them. The foodie loves all things about food, so they do really well when a diet has lots of variety, lots of great recipes. And the socializer is a people's person, and they need to make sure that their diet has a lot of flexibility in it so that they can still socialise and that the restrictions of a diet don't stifle their mood. So it's important that people identify who they are and work with what they've got. So choosing strategies that really complement who they are and make it easy for them to follow a program is really important. For example, a thinker, they can get really bogged down in the nitty-gritty, and it's important that they focus on positives. So thinking about the journey as opposed to the weight loss outcome is really important for them. Cravers, obviously, they need to manage their cravings. So for some people, that can be out of sight, out of mind. So if you don't buy it, you won't necessarily crave it. But actually, for some people, that heavy level of restriction can actually increase their cravings. So they need to find what actually works for them. We're actually not saying to people, change who you are. We're saying, think about who you are, accept it, reflect on it, and then work with it going forward.
Australians can find out their own diet personality by visiting the CSIRO Total Wellbeing Diet website and filling out a free 5-minute survey.
I had never really considered personality type and diet, but when I did discover that I was a foodie through their survey, it really struck a chord with me because I love food. I love everything about food. I was never going to stick to something if I was just going to eat, a piece of grilled chicken and some steamed vegetables. For me, it was about flavour and about enjoying the food, but enjoying healthy versions of the food. So it was about adding extra spice, extra herbs, those things that are like free points like ginger and lemon juice, and experimenting a lot more with things like pea puree with lots of mint in it, and using cauliflower as a basis for lots of different things. All up, I've lost 27 kilos over a period of about 45 weeks. I'm noticing I've got far more freedom of movement. I've got far better health impacts. My blood sugars are normal. My resting heart rate's really good, and I don't have blood pressure problems anymore, and I've been able to come off quite a bit of medication. Doing this diet has really shown me that I can achieve pretty much what I've set my mind to.
So that is a real interest to me, Jo, and it makes perfect sense that you would eat according to your body type or your personality type. Now, which one of the 6 diet types most sounds like you?
Well, it makes so much sense to me because I compare myself to the way my husband eats, and he is most definitely a craver. He cannot resist when he's craving sugar or fat or whatever it might be. And I watch him and I think, how are you doing that? But that's because I'm a pleaser. Very much, and I think a lot of women are, where you compare yourselves to societal expectations or what you're supposed to look like, so you want to please all the time, which shifts how I associate with food. And I think at times has been really disordered eating, in that I'm constantly got food guilt. It's mad, just eat the food.
And I think that is one of the challenges, isn't it, that people come and say you should be paleo, you should be keto, you should be vegetarian, you should be a whole range of different things, when really I think a factor of your personality type, your body type, all those, actually eating according to who you are, I totally agree with that.
But also you empower yourself knowing how you relate to food and what your personality type is, so that might help you make better decisions.
Yeah.
You can find out your personality diet type by taking part in a free quiz offered by the CSIRO. Details on how to go about it are on our website.
After the break, the doctor's car get us to open up and say as they investigate the ins and outs of tonsils. We'll be back after this.
Hi, I'm Jade Kisnorbo and welcome to my world of beauty. From the latest trends in skincare and makeup to creating a look that's just right for you, I've got the tips and tricks to make you look and feel great from the inside out. Taylor, in 2021, skincare is so much more than just cleaning your face, popping on some moisturiser. It's really now about elevating your skincare through amazing technology and rechargeable devices. And what they tend to do is really focus on cleansing, on anti-aging, on acne and firming.
I couldn't agree more. The brand new Manicare salon range is here to help, and actually for a fraction of the cost than it would be going to a salon. So I'm all for it.
And I'm all for a little bit of self-care.
100%, and I think right now I deserve some self-care.
You do deserve it. So do I. So what technology basically does when it comes to your skincare is it amps up what you would manually do. These devices empower you to look after your own skin in the comfort of your own home at a time that suits you.
It doesn't get more tech-savvy than a device that is activated by your smartphone, and that's exactly what this magnifying pore vacuum does. It helps to create that clear, smooth and illuminating skin. So once you've cleansed your skin with some warm water and opened up those pores, you're going to jump on your Manicare camera app. This is going to allow you to connect it to the pore vacuum. You can pick from 3 different intensities as well as the 4 nozzles here, which will help get all of that congestion out of your skin whilst watching it through this 10 times high definition magnifying camera.
Wow, I mean, that is amazing, especially for people that suffer from acne.
I can feel all of the congestion coming out of my skin and see it at the same time.
Now, a big part of everyone's skincare regime is cleansing and getting rid of those impurities in your skin that you've had all day so that you've got healthier, brighter skin. The Thermal Sonic Cleanser is really going to take this to another level with the sonic pulsation and warming function that's really going to give you a deep clean.
That sounds amazing because there's nothing better at the end of the day, taking all your makeup off, and although I love how you do my makeup, I do love the clean feeling when it's all off.
I agree, Taylor. What I love about this product is the silicone bristles and the fact that they are waterproof, so you can actually leave the device in your shower and it's hygienic, it doesn't harbour any bacteria, and you simply squeeze on your oil cleanser or your foaming cleanser and turn it on here, and you've got the option to have 3 speeds. So I really love how easy it is and how gently you can just move it in circular motions and get that fresh, squeaky clean skin.
I don't know about you, but I almost feel like a trained practitioner after using all these tools.
I know. And as for me, I am someone that my technology relationship, not good. Whether it's a mobile phone, computer, however, my beauty tech is perfect.
On point now.
Yep.
Jade Kay with Taylor Harris upping the ante there, from skincare home style to salon standard, but moving on from skin to throats, Das. Have you had your tonsils out?
Well, that's a change of pace right there for you, Jo. I have still got my tonsils. How about you?
Yes, I do still have my tonsils, yeah.
Well, back in the day, the tonsils were the first things to go as a kid, weren't they, from what I remember?
Yeah, having your tonsils out was pretty much a rite of passage before the 80s, but we don't hear about kids getting them removed quite so much these days, and there's a good reason why, as our doctors past and present explain.
Hi and welcome to Medicine Past, Present and Future. My name's Dr. Nick and I'm the past.
And my name's Dr. Isabel and I'm the future.
And together, we're the present.
So, Dr. Nick, what do you think's the most common thing that walks through your consulting room door?
Well, that would have to be sore throat, because whether it's kids or adults, we see it all the time. But Dr. Isabel, why do you reckon it's so common? And I'll give you a clue. It's something to do with those little dangly things at the back of your throat.
Ah, you're talking about the tonsils, Dr. Nick. So we used to think that tonsils were just evolutionary baggage, but we now understand they have a really important immune function. Now, I'd wager a guess, because they sort of act as the goalkeepers of the respiratory tract, that they're the first ones to pick up all the bacteria and viruses, and hence they get sore pretty often.
That's absolutely right. And they can cause real problems. I mean, George Washington is thought to have died of an abscess around his tonsils. And back in Roman times, doctors used to take tonsils out, sometimes with their bare hands.
Oh, what, just pull them out?
That's right, no anaesthetic. And then they fed them to the cat.
Oh, that's disgusting, Dr. Nick.
I made up the cat bit. But they really did sometimes just rip them out because they caused so much trouble for people.
And some of the common problems with the tonsils are things like tonsillitis, which can be due to both viruses and bacteria. But I have a vague memory, Dr. Nick, that you did your master's thesis in sore throats. Is that right?
Well, it shouldn't be a vague memory, Dr. Isbell. I mean, I did give you a copy.
I was 5.
That's no excuse. But the reason I did the research is that it's actually quite hard for doctors to know when to treat a sore throat. And what I found is that most sore throats are actually due to viruses and don't need antibiotics. Now, Dr. Isabel, there are some things that tell doctors when their sore throat does need treating. What are those?
So that's bacterial tonsillitis or strep throat. Now, the symptoms of that are a sky-high fever, very sore throat, quite swollen glands as well, but interestingly, often not accompanied by a runny nose or a cough. But when do we say enough's enough, Dr. Nick, and that the tonsils just need to come out?
Yeah, when I was a medical student, heaps of kids used to have their tonsils taken out. But we now know it's not needed very often. It's really only if you get true strep throat recurrently for more than 1 year, and sometimes in kids who have tonsils that are so big they can't breathe at night. But Dr. Isabel, there's another problem with tonsils. It's not quite so serious, but it's still a real nuisance, and that's a thing called tonsillith. Now, do you know what that is?
Well, now, you've taught me enough Latin over the years. Let's see if I can work this one out. So, tonso, that's going to be the tonsils. And then lith, is that like monolith, like a rock? So, tonsil rock?
Yeah, well, not quite tonsil rock, tonsil stone. And it's caused by food debris getting stuck in the crypts in the tonsil, and it literally turns into little stones. And it can cause halitosis.
Bad breath.
Yeah, but the good thing is it's fairly easy to treat at home. All you need to do is use saltwater gargles, decent dental hygiene, and you can actually get the little stones out with a cotton bud.
Just maybe flush them down the toilet. They tend to smell quite a lot. No need to bring them in for show and tell.
Now, talking of show and tell, Dr. Isabel, I brought you a present.
I hope it's not a tonsillith. Oh, even better. Dr. Nick, you brought me your master's thesis. I've been meaning to read that.
I hope you will. Do enjoy it.
Wow, I got to say I'm struggling with Dr. Nick's story about removing tonsils by hand. Ooh. Wow, those Romans really did it tough. I mean, I say that all the time, obviously. How lucky are we to be living now?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. The medical advances in a century have been massive. Heart disease deaths have dropped by nearly 40%. Robotics has revolutionised surgeries. MRIs are mapping the way our mind works, and the list goes on and on and on, Joe.
Not to mention the many life-changing new drugs. Coming up, the drug that's being hailed as the holy grail in the treatment of stroke, next on the House of Wellness.
Welcome back to the House of Wellness Kitchen and, of course, to my sous chef, GQ. Now, mate, you know how passionate I am about sharing the power of foods. Now, we all know that food has an effect on our physical well-being, but it can also be really incredible when it comes to our mental health and sense of calm.
That doesn't surprise me, Heinzie. How could you not feel cool, calm and collected when I get to see all the delicious dishes that you whip up for me each week?
You're going to love this one. It's called Heinzie's Hummus with Veggie Dippers. Now, the reason I love it so much is it is packed with chickpeas, which have a fantastic effect on your mood.
Chickpeas, Heinzie, are full of vitamins and minerals, things like potassium, magnesium, B vitamins and zinc. all of which are important to help with stress.
These delicious legumes also contain an essential amino acid that eventually converts to serotonin, a powerful hormone that can support our mood. Who would have thought sitting down to a delicious platter of my hummus with veggie dippers would be good for your brain health and mental performance? I love the power of food.
Hanji, the herbal world also offers us ways of keeping our sense of calm. The most notable being through the plant CRAVER, which is a traditional Pacific Islander medicine consumed as a drink. It's made by pounding the roots into a paste and then adding water.
Mate, that doesn't sound very relaxing, but neither does what I'm about to do. I've just got to blend up my hummus.
The effects of CRAVER kick in when you drink it. It soothes and calms nerves, it aids mind and body relaxation and can induce sleep.
Now, mate, CRAVER isn't known to be the most delicious drink and it's not really easy to incorporate into cooking. So what advice would you have for stress heads out there like me?
Not to worry, Heinzie. CRAVER is available in a convenient, high-strength, once-a-day capsule form.
Mate, I'm very happy to hear that. And I've got to say, you're always very soothing and calming. I've got to thank you for that.
Thank you, Heinz. It's because working with you, I carry CRAVER with me all the time.
Oh. The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Go Healthy's Go CRAVER 4200 one a day. A convenient, high-strength, one-a-day CRAVER traditionally used in Pacific Islander medicine to aid mind relaxation and induce sleep.
Heinzie and GQ, they're talking up their homemade hummus for brain health. Now, a couple of weeks back, we looked at how crucial it is to act fast if someone's having a stroke, Joe. FAST stands for the early warning signs, which are facial drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulties, and then time to call emergency services. Recognising these early signs is so important in increasing a person's chance of survival and making a good recovery. And now there's a new weapon in the fight against stroke. It's a potentially game-changing drug that's being developed by the Heart Institute. What makes this really quite extraordinary is that it's the first major development in the treatment of stroke in more than 20 years. Experts are calling it the holy grail of stroke drugs. Here's Professor Sean Jackson from the Heart Institute with more. Sean, we constantly hear that time is of the essence when it comes to strokes. Why is that the case?
So when you have a blood clot on the brain, you're preventing blood flow, and that's leading to lack of oxygen, glucose and nutrients. So parts of the brain starts to die, and that occurs pretty rapidly. So unless we get the patients to hospital quickly, unless we open up the blood vessels and get restored blood flow to the brain, that part of the brain will die, and that'll lead to permanent disability. So time is absolutely of the essence. The quicker we get you to hospital, the quicker we get you treated, the better the outcome for the patient. Can you describe the two different kinds of strokes? Yeah, the vast majority of strokes we see in Australia are due to a blood clot. And so that blocks one of the major arteries supplying blood to the brain. In about 15% of strokes, it can be due to a bleed. And, you know, that's a challenge for us treating these patients, because someone comes to a hospital with stroke, we straight away don't know which one it is. And so we have to do a lot of tests to work that out. And it's important because it affects how you treat the patient. So if you have a blood clot stroke and you reach the hospital quickly enough, what is the standard treatment? So we have two treatment options. The first is a drug called TPA, and the function of TPA is to dissolve blood clots and to improve blood flow. The other option is we can actually retrieve the clot. We can use a device and pull the clot out and unblock your artery. Unfortunately, with either treatment, we can only treat a relatively small percentage of all stroke patients, and that's a big problem. Unfortunately, the majority of stroke patients still don't get enough benefit, and that's why we have a lot of death and disability in the community. And so we really need to improve on our treatment options. Yeah, so TPA has been around a long time. You know, it was developed back in the 80s and 90s for stroke, with, you know, enormous potential to revolutionise stroke treatment. And in many patients, it has a great effect and they have a good outcome. Unfortunately, the majority don't get that great effect. And we actually know why. We know the limitations of the drug. And we've been working for many decades to try and come up with new treatments to add on top of TPA and to improve the ability to unblock blood vessels and improve blood supply.
And now I understand there is a new treatment that can eliminate those risks.
Yeah, so we know what we need to improve TPA, and we know that from treating patients who've had a heart attack. So if we add aspirin, which is an important blood thinner, we get a much better outcome when aspirin's combined with TPA. When we do the same studies in stroke and add aspirin with TPA, unfortunately, we get this bleeding on the brain, which, as I mentioned, is catastrophic. So we've been working for many years to try and get a safer aspirin, a drug that you can use with TPA without bleeding. And that's what we're really excited about, because our studies show that these new drugs are unprecedented. They just don't cause bleeding. So we're really excited to see how they perform in our stroke trials next year.
You talk about research, and obviously there's so many trials of new drugs going on all the time. How do you rate the impact of this one?
So, Joe, there's been literally 1,000 different approaches trialled in stroke. 1,000. Only one drug's ever been approved, and that's TPA. So we knew when we started this journey, this is one of the toughest, research assignments you could possibly get. That's why it's taken us so long. It's been painstaking research. But if we're right, and if this treatment does what we believe it's going to do, it could have a profound impact, because 16 million people every year around the world has a stroke. And it's one of the most difficult areas of medicine to develop new therapies. So, as I said, we're pretty excited that this could make a very significant difference, not just in Australia, of course, but ultimately globally.
Today is World Stroke Day, and about 14 million people around the world are affected every year. So that is a staggering number, Darcy.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Every 19 minutes, an Australian will have a stroke. So we'll be watching the results of the upcoming human trials with great interest, Joe.
Up next, Gerald quickly has some solutions to help your liver and heal old scars. Plus, we get the expert tips on how to become a natural beauty right after this.
Dr. Anika Smith, as a dermatologist, it's true to say that you are the person people go to when it comes to skin health. But tell me a little bit about why you're so passionate about skin.
Sure, Zoe. So look, I've always loved the skin. It certainly is a fascinating organ. It's our key defence between the inside and outside world, and it has this remarkable capacity for regeneration and renewal, and it truly is a window to the inner workings of the body. Ultimately, the skin is intrinsic to how we feel about ourselves and also how we function in the world. And to be able to ameliorate this in some way and improve someone's quality of life by virtue of improving their skin condition and their overall health is indeed rewarding and a privilege.
We're always looking for the secret to beautiful skin, but what would you say is some of the secrets?
Good question. Look, I don't actually think there's one particular secret. I think they are all things we know, but I'm happy to let you in on what I consider key. Sun protection. It's estimated that, UV radiation from the sun is responsible for more than 80% of facial aging. So it really is a no-brainer. In addition to that, good skin barrier function is key to good skin health. Without this, we can lose water through the skin barrier. We refer to that as transepidermal water loss. And also irritants, allergens, and other things in the environment can penetrate a deficient barrier and set up inflammation in the skin. And finally, I think it's important to realise that a skincare regime is not to be taken in isolation. I certainly advocate for a healthy, happy life, and that best supports your skincare routine. When it comes to diet, along with avoidance of alcohol and excess sugar, and ultimately seek whatever brings you joy. I think skin health is as much an inside job as an outside job. So they're my secrets.
What are some natural ingredients we should be looking for?
So look, I think it's important to note that the term natural typically refers to ingredients derived from nature, but natural ingredients can still include things that are synthetically made, such as hyaluronic acid, which is naturally found in the body, or vitamin C, L-ascorbic acid. Hyaluronic acid and ceramides are naturally occurring substances in the skin, and they're great because they have low sensitizing and irritancy potential. Hyaluronic acid in particular has potent moisturising properties, and ceramides, along with essential fatty acids, are crucial for skin barrier integrity and function. And there are also marine extracts. Marine algae extracts in particular serve as natural sources of peptides. And peptides are these short-chain amino acids that can increase collagen production, assist with repair of the extracellular matrix, which is the skin's key support structure, and in doing so, improve the appearance of the skin. Along with this, certain marine algae extracts have skin hydrating and antioxidant properties. Other natural ingredients include rosa canina seed oil, which is naturally rich in essential fatty acids and antioxidants, and of course vitamin C, which is an excellent antioxidant, ideal for the start of the day to protect the skin against external environmental aggressors.
My 7-year-old daughter often looks at my range of skincare and says, "Mummy, why are you putting so much on your face?" But daytime, nighttime moisturisers, oils, is it all necessary? I think it is, but what do you think?
Look, definitely from me, it's a yes to a day and night facial moisturiser. I really think the best skincare routine ideally is one that works for you. That is, it fits in with your lifestyle. It's simple, it's consistent, and importantly, it achieves your desired skincare aims. And I truly believe it's what you do most of the time that counts. There are some days when work and mum life is hectic, and my skincare routine could simply look like a splash of water, moisturiser, sunscreen, makeup, and on with the day. I think it's important to note that regardless of your skin type, skin hydration is key, and it's all about choosing the modality in which it's delivered that will suit your skin type best.
And Nika, thank you so much. That was a wealth of information. I particularly love the point you spoke about busy mums and keeping it simple. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Zoe. It's been lots of fun.
Zoe with some great beauty advice on how to look great naturally. I've got to say, I do prefer the natural look on men and women, and a few blemishes here and there, I think, is what makes us look interesting, don't you think,
Couldn't
Dan?
agree more, Joe. It's the character and the natural beauty is what shines to me. Hey, Joe, do you remember the photographer who photoshopped portraits to be the mirror images of the left and right side of people's faces, and all the character literally just disappeared?
Yeah, it's not right to be symmetrical. Nature isn't perfect, is it? So we're all a bit irregular, and beauty is all about having that sort of irregular facial character. And what about scars? Do you have any from the footy days, Das? I'm scared to ask.
I've probably got a couple, Joe, but there's one a little bit close to home because on the weekend I lost my front tooth, which I got knocked out in the second last game of footy I ever played. So I had to get to a dentist pretty quickly. And if you have a look at this, it's not a good look, Joe. Me, who's got a bit of a mullet going these days because we can't get our hair cut in Melbourne, minus the tooth. Beck was saying, I didn't sign up for this. This wasn't part of how it was supposed to be.
So what's there now?
So I had a dentist who's literally glued that front tooth back in over the weekend. So I'm thankful.
I'm thankful.
I'm scaring the kids.
We're all thankful. Well, scars are the roadmaps of our lives, but if you do want to lessen their look, it's never too late. Here's Gerald quickly with some remedies, as well as the best herbs to care for our very hard-working livers.
Our liver is the largest organ in our abdomen. It's up behind the ribs, underneath our diaphragm, and its role is to break down toxic substances into safer forms. And remarkably, the liver can actually regenerate itself after injury or damage. Milk thistle is the ideal herb to maximise liver efficiency and protect it from further damage. It also reduces our risk of fatty liver disease developing, one of the more common challenges we face. We're all familiar with a scar, whether it's from a childhood misadventure or surgery. Dimethicone and hyaluronic acid are two components designed specifically to hydrate and protect the area that has been scarred. Depending on the age of the scar, this is how you apply those two nutrients. So for a recent scar, apply the combination along the length. For a scar up to 3 months old, roll and massage the scar area as you're applying the combination, and for mature scars, stretch the skin as it's applied. Either way, you will notice the improvements. I'm often asked for reassurance by people who have been taking a herbal medication for years and suddenly find that they are prescribed a new medication. And sometimes they're told you've got to stop the herbs. Now, in most cases, there's usually no reason given, but you can ask respectfully for the reason why not. There's lots of new research out now exploring the potential interactions between herbs and medications so that you can get a full understanding of what's going on. And don't forget, if you have questions about your health, ask your healthcare practitioner. But most importantly, live well, stay well, be well.
Fair to say we covered some pretty groundbreaking research and innovation today, Joe, particularly in the treatment of breast cancer and stroke. And Australia really is a world leader in medical breakthroughs, which was a great thing.
Oh, we are certainly the lucky country. But in the UK, London's famous black cab drivers are giving us a run for our money in the research stakes. They're being asked to help research dementia and Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, black cab drivers are known for memorising and negotiating London's huge network of streets, typically without a GPS, by purely relying on their knowledge. Incredible skill set. It's a great experience getting in a London black cab, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the best. And researchers have discovered that the part of the brain that controls spatial awareness and declines in size with Alzheimer's seems to get bigger with long-serving cabbies, which is why the drivers are now being used in a study to help with dementia research.
They say it's the most difficult test in the world, getting a London taxi cab licence. It takes about 4 years of study, so it's almost the same as getting a university degree in navigation, Joe.
Can you imagine trying to negotiate the streets of London? The layout is so confusing. Plus, they have to know the most direct route to go anywhere and every landmark and the businesses and deal with people like me in the back of their cab going, "You're going the wrong way."
Perfect candidates for a memory test, Joe. OK, well, that's it for today's show. Check out our House of Wellness website for further info on anything you've seen on today's show.
You can hear me and Gerard Quigley on the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday. And don't miss the latest in the House of Wellness podcast series, Best of You. One of my favourite episodes just recently dropped, and it's all about losing a partner and navigating that incredible pain. It's a very vulnerable and really beautiful episode, and you can find it wherever you find your podcast.
If you haven't got into podcasts, it's a really simple thing. Literally type in on all your platforms. I've really enjoyed the conversations I've been having with Empowering Leaders podcast as well, Joe. Caught up with an old friend of yours, Janie Martino, the founder of the Smiling Mind app.
She is amazing.
What a success story she is, and what a success story Smiling Mind. And also the creative genius that is Rob Sitch from Working Dog, behind Australia's cinema classics such as The Castle and The Dish. And incredible chatting to Rob. I've really enjoyed that, and you can find it wherever you find your podcasts.
Look out for the Wellness Plus lift out in the weekend papers, all about mind and body.
And thanks as always to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. Stay well, and we'll see you next time.